And now it looks like... Anyway, back to my book. I'm into chapter 2, and I'm skipping over some of the stuff. A lot of this is an autobiography. It was my life, and maybe with a little fiction woven into it. But if you go back and read some of the stuff that I've done, this is going in... I'm skipping some of the stuff, and the character, Sheridan, or Danny, has come back to a place she used to work with worked in California like 8 years later. She's reminiscing about a lot of the stuff that happened to her when she was working there 8 years previous, and she at that time had fallen in love with an actor who happened to be filming stuff, because this happened, like I say, it was an autobio. The place where she worked was used for a TV show, and she met an actor that was on the set at that time, and this happened to be an actor that this character in this book liked from the time she was little, and she ends up meeting him, and she falls in love with him, and this is kind of going on from there. So she's gone back 8 years later. She's walking around the place where she used to work, where she met this guy when they were filming a particular TV show. She's in there that day, and she's meeting some of the people that she used to work with, and lo and behold, like in anything in Hollywood, this actor happens to walk in on the day that she's there. So, here's what happens. Danny scooped up an 800 cassette she'd spotted earlier. This was when cassettes, not DVDs or CDs. She picked up a cassette she spotted earlier and was heading for the W section when Sylvie Marmolejo suddenly flew at her like a witch kicked out of hell. The bump from a healthy Hispanic hip gyrated Danny against the pin. Jesus Christ, Sylvie, what the hell was that? Too many burritos? Burritos, my ass. Take a deep breath, Chiquita. It must be fate. She breasted a smudge on... Danny breasted a smudge on her pant leg. To hell with fate, Sylvie, give me a washcloth. Forget the damn pants. Danny, look who just walked in. Danny jeeshed, disdained for a moment. Jesus Christed, Sylvie's drilled an elbow away, then focused straight ahead to the front door. The two teen girls with the domes of teased hair and Judas Priest outfits were scarcely noticed. Not so with the man coming in behind them. And I thought your timing was lousy, Sylvie hissed. I haven't seen him for ages. It had been a lot longer for Sheridan. In person, anyway. 8 years. 8 very long. And as she looked at him, never shoulda, coulda, woulda happened to her in a cajillion years. Years. Stunned but fascinated, her eyes swept over him. The clothing, as it always had. Rodeo. Dark tan chinos, Bernini, with a razor pleat. Cashmere camel sweater over a jade striped shirt, open at the throat. Cuffs casually rolled up. Nut brown leather loafers. Italian, probably. Danny didn't need to see it to know that on his left hand, the Rolex face was turned to the inside of his wrist, and on the appropriate finger, a ring of black onyx with a solitary diamond. Strolling into the store, he pulled out the sunglasses, hooking them over the V-neck of the sweater. A cursory effort was made to fix the hair, but windblown suited him. Always had. The mustache was new, but it looked pretty damn fine too. Softened the thin upper lip. With the exception of Lou's son Blair and Dorothy, no one Danny knew, not even Benny, remained. She'd anticipated that. She had not anticipated this. Not today, not ever. It would have happened in all those sappy Cinderella stories she'd scribbled as a kid, and in the Kismet Classic series on late night TV, but not in real life. At least not in hers. And yet, damn if it didn't feel right, too. Fatally. Especially now, when she was halfway through her writing attempt to exercise it. A psychic piece from her life's jigsaw suddenly snapped into place. She glanced down at her hands. They could use some corn huskers, but they were steady. She remembered the roll of wintergreen certs in her purse, but she didn't have cottonmouth either. how different her reaction had been 8 years ago when she first met him. "Hello, hello, hello," she whispered, unaware that her hand had dropped the Ian Hunter back into the bin. "I don't think he caught that, Chiquita," Sylvie purred. "Don't make a move, and I'll have him back here before you can say jalapeno." Danny's fingers latched onto Sylvie's arm like a steel-jawed leg-hold trap. "Do that, and you're a veteran, Sylvie. Leave him alone." Too bad she couldn't take her own advice. Like a cheetah at a watering hole, she was riveted to his every move. Casually glancing around the store, he eventually headed into the smaller classical room. A quick look had gone in her general direction, but with her head down and her eyes spying up, he hadn't noticed. Probably wouldn't have recognized her even if he had. She'd changed. Danny changed more than he. Indecision about intruding wasn't eased by the wave of memory that hit her so hard. She slowly caught her breath. So much had happened 8 years ago, in such a short period of time. 4 months. 4 months. She would never have left California if it hadn't been for him. She had fled one hopeless situation, only to be confronted by another. What would his reaction be if she were to approach him this time? Surprised? Definitely. But pleasantly? She was not sure about the call on that one. He would have good reason to feel uncomfortable, especially if he'd known. But he doesn't, Danny. He doesn't know, she thought, as Sylvie hissed another "Jesus Jesus," and Danny finally yanked free her pinioned arm. "And he never will know, because you will never tell him." So why, Danny thought again, when she'd taken exactly 10 steps in his direction, and suddenly segued back to a casual but phony browse. Why was she hesitating? It certainly wasn't because she regretted anything. Not in the least. She did regret one absolutely incredible, impossibly phantasmagorical thing. She'd forced the man into an untenable position 8 years ago. But even now, right now, as she looked at him, she didn't regret a single thing. Even in her most guilt-ridden, must-have-made a fool of herself 100 umpteen times moments, she hadn't regretted it. Wasn't even really embarrassed by it. Even now. And she should be. But she wasn't. She didn't feel embarrassed, foolish, or even regretful. She sneaked another glance. But he might. And that's the thought that brought her to heel at the curb. She was hesitating at the embarrassment it might make him feel. And just as quickly she shook her head. Stephen Farragon was the man Diogenes had torched his lamp to find. If Stephen Farragon wasn't into a reunion, Steve Farragon would definitely let her know. High heels trod carefully onto the wood flooring as she strolled into the back room, endured a sudden last moment of reflection, then, "Excuse me?" A good old skip of the pump when he glanced up. "I don't think you'll be finding any recordings of yourself in this store, Mr. Farragon. They all belong to me." And then I go to chapter 3, and we go to something else. And if you're riveted, have I got you? Are you scared? If you look at the librarian from the hilarious House of Frankenstein, totally different format, segue. Bobby Man, I can't remember his name, but Minter Price was in it. Anyway, I digress. I'm into chapter 3. But I'm going to go back to where she meets up with this guy she used to be in love with, and he's an actor, a famous television actor. And this is a bio, an auto-bio, so if you want to know what happens, tune in.